is John Cole with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and what we're going to do today is compare an all-new juicer that is now on the market that's getting a lot of buzz lately. And this juicer is the Philips Micro Juicer. This happens to be the Elite model, but the Elite and non-Elite model would pretty much work the same for all practical purposes against the long-standing Omega VSJ843. Now, I have an episode previously with the Philips Micro Juicer juicing something like hard vegetables like carrots. I'll put a link down below to that video. And basically, it was an epic fail. It actually really produced a poor quality yield, in my opinion. Took longer to use, and just not a good juicer. Now, this machine is advertised on the box itself, you know, and many online advertisements, is that it gets up to 90% of the juice out of fruit. So in this episode, I thought I'd come back, and instead of doing something like carrots, on the flip side, let's go ahead and try to juice some fruits with the Philips Micro Juicer, because it does say it works really well. And we're going to be doing that in just a little bit. But before I do, I want to introduce the Omega VSJ843, the contender here in this juice off. Now, I want to explain to you guys that, you know, if you're juicing straight fruits, they can be actually very difficult to juice. You know, some juicers, like the centrifugal ejection machines that run at high speed, that sounds like an airplane taking off in your kitchen, that's the most popular style juicer. Those juicers will juice fruits, but in my opinion, it's kind of a waste to juice fruits in those machines, because literally when you juice something like berries, strawberries, which can be quite expensive, you put it in the centrifugal ejection, they hit the high spinning blade, some juice is flung off, but mostly the wet pulp is flung out into the collection bin, and you're not getting a good yield and a good percentage of the nutrition out of the fruits. Most of it is actually going into the pulp catch container. Now on the flip side, we could have something like a two-stage press juicer, such as the Pure Juicer, and that you sometimes may have to, you know, triturate or grind up the fruits first. In some cases you don't have to. You put them in a press bag, you press out the fruit pulp, and that gets literally the most juice out of any juicer in terms of yield. Now, you may be leaving some nutrients along with the fiber in that machine, but you're going to get the highest yield. Now, compromise to that would be something like an Omega VSJ843 juicer. It's not like the centrifugal, and it's not like the, you know, Pure Juicer that's in excess of $2,000. This is my favorite machine for juicing fruits and for soft textured fruits, because it probably gets one of the highest yields of all the juicers that I've tested to date. You know, and it works really easily, runs at a slow RPM, so it's going to maximize the nutrition in the juice, and also just the way it's set up, maximize the yield. But more importantly for me, it's also very simple to clean, right? And that's important to me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and explain how these two machines are similar and also how they're different. First, I want to go ahead and turn them on, the VSJ843. It's actually pretty doggone quiet. It's one of the, you know, most quiet juicers out there, because it does run at a low and slow 43 revolutions per minute, which is really slow. And then over on this side, we have the Philips Micro Juicer. We'll go ahead and turn that guy on. It actually runs significantly faster. Now, I don't know the actual RPMs on this. It also sounds pretty loud, like a kind of a geary grinding sound. Because in the instruction manual, nowhere online, and even when I called the customer service number for Philips, they didn't know the RPMs. They knew the hertz, which is 60 hertz, and the voltage, which is standard in the US. But they didn't know the RPMs, so that was kind of sad to me not to know the RPMs. But I think it runs at several hundred RPMs would be my best guess, which is faster. Now, so this one's louder. This one's runs at a faster RPM. Let's see, let's go ahead and take this guy out and show the feed chute. This is the feed chute size on the Philips. It's actually a little, kind of like a little rectangle, maybe like 1.5 inches diameter square. The feed chute on the VSJ, a lot larger, so you're going to have an easier time feeding things in. Now, how this guy works is basically it's a single auger, horizontal auger style machine. This is actually where the pulp comes out, which gets dropped into the bag. So as you put produce in, the pulp runs backwards and gets ground up, and then the juice actually runs frontwards. If we take out this front part here, we could see actually this is the juicing screen. There is no screen. This is just basically two pieces of plastic that's interlocked together that make up like a screen so that big chunks can't actually go into your juice. The particles actually have to go through these small holes in here, if you guys can see that. And then we have this nice long spinning, fast spinning auger that basically will grind up and press out the juice, which then comes out the front, and the pulp goes out the back. Now this is known as a horizontal auger because the pulp and the auger runs horizontally. The pulp runs out to the back, drops out the bottom, and the juice runs out the front. Now the VSJ is a little bit different. Instead of running horizontally, this is a vertical design. So in my opinion, the vertical design is a much better design for juicing fruits. And so on this one, you put the produce in. It actually has two little like blades that actually kind of chop up to some small extent the produce. Once it gets chopped up, it gets put into this system, this crushing and squeezing system. As it gets crushed, the produce gets crushed down into a smaller and smaller space, which then extracts the juice. The juice is then comes through the screen here, either in stage 1, which has larger holes, or stage 2, which has smaller holes. The juice comes out this side, and the pulp goes down through the middle of the machine and gets expelled out this side right here. In addition, we have an automatic wiping blade, which actually keeps your screen clean. So screen cleaning is easier. Also, this should also increase the yield. Now, if we look at just the screen area alone, the VSJ843 has a lot more screen area. So this is a pro and a con. The pro is that it'll probably get more yield than a smaller screen area on the Philips Micro. The con is that actually it's going to take you longer to clean, where the Philips Micro actually, because it has no screen, you literally just take this thing apart, rinse it under the water, you're done. So actually I kind of like the cleaning. But if the cleaning is easy and it doesn't make a good yield, then what's the use of even having a juicer? The other thing on the VSJ843 is that there's this little flap on the bottom. It's a silicone flap, and the job of this flap is when you're juicing, it actually always should be pushed into place. And this actually has a gatekeeper, so it keeps the pulp inside the machine to get fully extracted. And only when the pulp is dry, then this little silicone flap will let the pulp come out of this chute, and it'll no longer will be juiced. And on the Philips here, you know, I don't really see any kind of apparatus that kind of just prevents the pulp from kind of going out. So what this means is that the pulp may be ejected prematurely, and it may actually still be wet when it is getting ejected, which means the machine is not going to be as efficient. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and assemble this guy. We'll put it in place. You put it down there, then you slide that back, slide that down. I gotta say the Philips looks pretty cool. You know, it is a pretty small footprint overall. You know, if we took the size of the footprint and this guy, ooh, it's gonna be pretty tight. I would definitely say the VSJ843. I got the square edition or the cube model. They also have a round model. The round model will be a smaller footprint than even the Philips. Let's go ahead and assemble this guy. Really easy to assemble both these guys. I mean, once you buy the juicer, you're gonna get it. You're like, man, there's a lot of pieces. But once you've done this 5 times, you know, you could put it together. Let me see, with your eyes closed. All right, there you go. All right, so that's the differences. Vertical single auger, horizontal single auger, running at higher speed, running at a slower speed. In general, the horizontal single augers are better at things like the leafy greens and the hard vegetables and the fruits, but this one they say does fruits really well, so that's what we're going to find out in a second. The vertical single augers, such as the VSJ843, they're really the best, like all-around juicers. If you said, John, I want to juice everything, fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, you know, the vertical augers tend to pretty much do everything fairly well compared to other style machines. Also, you know, they're easier to clean in my opinion. This machine takes me about 3 minutes to clean. Oh, let's even talk about the warranties here. So the warranty on the VSJ843, 15 full years, backed by Omega, one of the longest standing juicer companies founded here in the United States of America. They've been in business like one of the first businesses in the US selling juicers, and they're still selling juicers today. Philips, of course, is a multi-international company selling all kinds of products, including juicers, but their machine only has a scant 2-year warranty. So if you guys are going to make an investment, a couple $100 investment in one of these tools, and this is the most important tool in my opinion that you could purchase to basically increase your health. Much like a car or a truck is a tool to get you from point A to point B, which is indispensable for many of you guys. The juicer is a tool that I think every household in America should have to basically maximize the amount of fruits and vegetables that you guys are getting in your diet, because the fact of the matter is clear. 3 out of 4 Americans don't eat enough fruits, and 9 out of 10 don't eat enough vegetables, and this is dismal. So I want you guys to supersize your fruits and vegetables, and the juicers are the perfect machines to do that, because literally the juicer here could take 5 pounds of carrots that you probably would never eat in one sitting. You could take 5 pounds of carrots, turn it into 5 cups of juice, which you could easily eat in one sitting, thereby maximizing your consumption of carrots, which have, plenty of vitamins and minerals, but also especially some of the phytochemicals and phytonutrients. They say it's good for your eyes. There's properties in carrots that have been shown to be effective with, reduction of cancer in testing. I mean, there's a plethora of phytochemicals and phytonutrients in the plants, or plant compounds that the plant makes when they're growing outside, because this is what the plant makes to protect itself from the weather, the elements, the stress of growing outside, the bugs. And when we eat these foods, the plant foods, the fruits and the vegetables, we get those protections within us. And one of the easiest tips I want to give you guys to pick out some of those things, you want to pick out the nicest, darkest colored, deepest colored vegetables and fruits in the store. So for example, last night I was actually shopping for some peppers, bell peppers, and I went through the whole display and I got the darkest, deepest, richest, reddest peppers I could, because those are going to have more antioxidants than a pepper that's kind of like, pinkish and not fully ripe. So, and when you're picking out carrots, pick out the purple carrots because they're a lot darker than, say, the white carrots. And when you're picking out leafy greens, hey, get that nice dark black Tuscan kale instead of the nice, lighter colored regular curly kale. So yeah, that's pretty much it, the spiel on these guys. This one has a longer warranty, this one has a shorter warranty. Next we're going to come back at you and we're going to do a juice off and making one of my favorite recipes that I learned about from Jay Cordich, formerly known as a Juice Man. It's just simply called lemonade with 2 ingredients. So now I'm back, all set up and ready to juice. What we're going to juice today is my favorite lemonade drink, made with only fresh fruits, right? I don't recommend drinking sugar water. But what this contains is literally 3 organic, oversized, red delicious apples. And if you notice, man, I picked out the nicest, deepest, richest, darkest, rosy, red delicious apples I could find. It almost looks like the ones that they fed Snow White. Don't eat those apples. Eat them apples. All right. And basically we got 38.4 ounces of apples plus a half a lemon. And literally we're just going to juice 3 apples, half a lemon in each of the machines to find out the yield and how much we get. First, I think we're going to go ahead and juice in the Philips. So to do that, we're just going to go ahead and turn this machine on and start feeding through the produce. Alright, so I'm continuing to juice in the Philips micro juicer, and it's working. I gotta push each and every produce item in, which takes a little bit of time. I have to cut it into small pieces so that it actually would fit into the feed chute. And it looks like I'm getting a lot of almost apple sauce consistency versus an apple juice. But we're just going to go ahead and continue to juice, and we'll show you guys the results, when I'm finished. piece going through the Phillips. Alright, let's go ahead and turn that guy off, and we'll go ahead and let it drip. Now we're going to go ahead and juice with the Omega VSJ843. Make sure we're set up here properly. Now, one of the things I like about the Omega VSJ843 is that actually, number one, you don't have to cut things up into as small pieces, and number two, the other fact that I like is that it's literally auto feeding. So this is huge. I mean, I really dislike having to push each and every produce item in the machine. So let's go ahead and turn this guy on and show you guys how easy it works. Literally, you're just going to take a piece of apple, drop it in there. Once you drop it in there, machine will auto feed it and kick out the pulp and kick out the juice. As you guys can see, the juice is coming out, and it's a lot finer consistency than on the Phillips. So I'm going to go ahead and juice all these apples. We'll come back at you when I'm almost done. Alright, last piece going into the Omega VSJ. Now I just gotta say that, you know, it took definitely less time to juice in the Omega VSJ because I was able actually to chop and drop, whereas I was actually have to chop and push with the Phillips. I think our last apple went through there, and I think it's pretty much all through. Now the main thing to remember when using a slow juicer such as the VSJ is once you put the last produce item in, you're going to want to let the juicer run a little bit, you know, to extract all the juice before turning it off. And the way you know to stop it is if there's still pulp flowing out the little pulp bin there. And so that pretty much looks like it's stopped flowing. We're going to go ahead and stop that guy, and we'll tip this guy up. Get a little bit of this juice, which also looks a little bit thick. Gonna go ahead and close that guy off. Now I want to look at first for you guys is the pulp that each of the machines created. Here's the pulp with the Phillips. If we take a bunch in my hand, we squeeze. You guys can see actually we're squeezing out the pulp with actually very little juice coming out, so that's a good sign. And once again in the VSJ843 we're going to squeeze out the pulp, and I think this even had a little bit less juice. It seems like it's a little bit more dry, a lot more ground up too than the Phillips. Next, let's go ahead and compare the initial yield that came out of each of the machines so you guys can see which juicer may have made more juice. Alright, let's go ahead and do close-ups. So over on the Phillips side here, it's pretty difficult to determine the exact volume of juice due to the fact that the juice is like, you know, a lot more aerated, a lot more bubbles, a lot more foam, and probably a lot more pulp. You guys can see you know, this is a good color near the bottom, but as it goes up, this is just like all, I don't know, foamy pulp something. And if we kind of look at the top, I mean, you could kind of see where it goes up to the pulp or the foam. It's like 28 ounces, but I don't know if that's actually the true measure of how much juice it made. It's difficult to say. Over on the VSJ side, you can see we got a lot more consistent on the color of the juice. You know, nice color on the bottom. And then we got a little bit maybe more pulp on the top. And then looks like easily maybe 24 ounces of juice. So if we just went by this, it looks like the Phillips would win overall, but I guess the main thing is we're making juice, not a smoothie here. So let's go ahead and filter out the extra pulp that's in with the juice. Alright, so now let's go ahead and find out how much pulp was in the juice here. As you guys can see, if I'm just shaking this and moving it, it's moving pretty nicely here. And if I shake and move this, it's kind of like a lot thicker. So we got two 24-ounce mason jars. We're going to set those guys up. And then we got two wide mouth funnels. Set those guys up. And then we got two strainers. And we're going to go ahead and put those on the top. and we're going to go ahead and pour in the juices to find out which one actually had more pulp. So I'll go ahead and first pour through the VSJ843. You guys could look, it is pretty thick, but you guys could see a nice stream of juice falling through the bottom. It's actually kind of getting a nice build up here on the top because it's kind of getting full. The juice is still flowing, but this is all full now because it's actually a really nice thick mixture. So for those people out there that think juicing, it gets rid of all the fiber, it's bad, right? They're wrong. Now, juices in the store, the bottled juices, I do not recommend you guys buy those juices. Those are micro-filtered and strained and pasteurized. They lose a lot of nutrition, and in my opinion, that's probably no better than drinking a soda. Maybe a little bit better. But a fresh juice is completely different because, number one, if you're using, softer apples, because the apples that I juiced this year were actually from last year because they've been in cold storage. Like, if we're in like February, March, April, May, June, the apples were harvested last year and they've been sitting in cold storage in an oxygen deprived environment so that they'll store well. They lose their texture, they get softer and mealy, and then they really don't juice well. So if you're going to juice apples, in the off season, which is when they're not being harvested, which is when they're not available at your local farmer's market, you're going to want to get Granny Smith apples, or go down when you go and pick your apples, pick ones that you can't dent in with your finger, or that are a nice hard consistency. Otherwise, you're going to get excessive pulp in the juice. Now, the pulp's not a problem. That's actually good fiber. So in this situation, we not only have the insoluble fiber, which is the fiber that we're trying to strain out, but in all juices, you get the majority of the soluble fiber that were in the original fruit. Because think about it, what does soluble mean? It means dissolves in water. So all the fiber in the juice, it dissolves in water because juice is just water. So there still is a significant amount of fiber in the juices. It's the soluble kind, not the insoluble. But of course, in this one, we got a lot of the soluble. So this is pretty full. We're going to go ahead and shake this down a little bit. Maybe we'll just kind of let it settle there while we'll pour this guy out and show you guys what's happening with this one. So in this guy, actually the container is a lot heavier, so that means to me it's a lot more pulp. But watch this as it comes out. I mean, this almost looks like an applesauce, and unlike when we poured through the VSJ juice, we had a nice stream. We have a really small stream of apple juice. Now we got actually some coming out, but now this strainer is completely full. We can't put anymore, so we're just going to go ahead and take and shake these down. Alright, so I'm trying to shake these guys down. It's not really happening, so we're going to use the next technique. We got a spoon, and we're going to try to stir this up and see if we can get any of the extra pulp to fall, or the juice to fall through by doing this. Now, I don't want to sit there and force the pulp through the screen with the spoon. I'm trying to just stir this up to basically get some of the juice to drop through without much of the pulp. Because if you do this enough, you can basically get all the pulp through the screen into the juice. That's helping a little bit. I think we're maybe getting a little bit of the pulp through the screen. But this one's going down just a little bit. Alright, let's see if we can pour the rest in there, because a lot of this still has a lot of the liquid. Oh, don't want to overflow it. I mean, to me, this is a lot of work to get apple juice, using the Philips micro juicer. I mean, this is basically all pulp, and I don't want to be sitting here doing this. I mean, in the VSJ, actually, the pulp is dried out, and it's actually pretty much dry. So, I mean, we got almost, 17 ounces of juice, and with the micro juicer, well, at least we got all the so-called juice out, and we're finally now being able to strain it out. Alright, I think I've been stirring this long enough. I don't want to sit here and try to get every last bit out. We're going to go ahead and take the spoons out and show you guys what we got. So over on the VSJ843, I don't know if you guys can see the consistency of that. Well, it's actually pretty fine consistency. It's you know, actually maybe about a little bit less than half filled with pulp. And then over on the side of the Philips Micro, you look at that, I don't know if you guys can see the difference in how it looks, whoops, but it's actually a lot thicker. It looks like when you open a jar of applesauce, that's what it looks like. It's pretty thick, whereas on the VSJ, it's a lot more broken down and finer. Plus, it looks like there's about like 3/4 of the container is filled with the pulp. So I want to go ahead and you know, verify and try the different applesauces we made. So over on the VSJ side, maybe we'll do a close-up for you guys, since we'll be able to do this easier. I don't know if you guys can see the difference in that. One's finer, one's thicker. We're gonna go ahead and taste it. Wow, that tastes good. Maybe put a little bit of sugar beet in there, and that'd be some fine applesauce. Really nice mouth texture. Still a little bit of juice in there, not much. And over on the Philips side, much more gritty. Reminds me of eating applesauce, you know, out of a jar that I used to eat when I was a kid. That's the texture, right? I don't recommend you guys eating that. I recommend if you guys want to make applesauce, do it yourself, actually, in one of these juicers. Make juice, and then you're going to have applesauce at the same time. Spiced up with some cinnamon. Man, I think this stuff would be amazing. Anyways, we're not here to make applesauce today. We're here to make juice. And let's go ahead and do a close-up now on these juices and show you guys what each one made. Alright, so after straining the juices, this is what we've got. This is the real juice that we made. Over on the Philips Micro side, looks like we have about 400 milliliters of juice. And over on the VSJ843 side, we could go up. We're surpassing the 500 milliliter mark. I don't know, maybe I'll call that, I don't know, 520 maybe, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, over 100 milliliters more juice. The other thing I wanted you guys to notice, I'll go ahead and set the camera right here. Look at the color of the juice, right? Now in this situation, we want a lighter color, because in my opinion, the darker color means more oxidation. When you bite into an apple and if you leave it on the countertop, it'll turn brown over time, unless you get a new GMO apple that doesn't turn brown, which actually I don't recommend those. But the brown is the oxidation. So if we look at this juice, it's a lot darker, a lot more oxidized than the juice over here. You know, it's a couple shades lighter. So this means there's less oxidative damage to the juice, in my opinion, and this also means that there'll be more nutrition in the juice made with a slower juicer that is lighter in color in this instance. So there you guys saw it. The VSJ definitely beat out the Philips Micro. Over 110 milliliters more juice. That's over 20%, 22%, 23% more juice. Now we're going to go ahead and try the juices. First we're going to go ahead and try the Philips. Man, that's a really good lemonade. See, the lemon adds like the zing, the tartness. The apples add the sweetness. This is one amazing juice. I did taste a little bit of grit, as you guys could see when I poured it on the back of the jar there. You guys could see that there's still grit in the jar, so some of the bigger grit went through the screen into the juice. Next we're going to go ahead and try the Omega VSJ843. A lot richer tasting, better mouthfeel. The top of this, because we were using the spoon to slosh it around, we did get a little bit of a pulp on the top. But overall, there's a much better mouthfeel with like larger bits of pulp in the juice. I definitely have to say that I do like the taste better of the juice made with the Omega VSJ843, and I believe this is due to the lower RPM and the less damage, and also the better grinding ability that this machine had over the Philips Micro Juicer. So with that, I'm going to have to go ahead and declare the winner of this juice off. And the winner of this juice off, no surprise, is the Omega VSJ843. It was a lot easier to juice. It took less time to juice. It made more juice. It made less applesauce, if that's what you're going to make. So this is the machine I would recommend if you want to juice fruits. Now, the big tip for juicing fruits is when you're juicing fruits, you want to select fruits that are nice, hard, and firm. Don't get soft fruits. They're not going to juice well. You're going to get more applesauce or apple mush or more of a smoothie consistency if you don't get nice, hard, firm fruits to juice. That's very important. The other thing that can help you out significantly besides just doing 100% fruit juice is if you juice some carrots with apples, or juice some fruit with some carrots, or fruit with some celery, and alternate the fruit with the celery, the fruit with the carrot, the fruit with celery, and keep repeating that until you're done. That's going to work a lot better in most juicers than just juicing straight fruit as I did today. If you guys enjoyed this episode, I want to encourage you guys to support me so that I can continue to make these videos comparing the juicers for you, because nobody else is literally doing this, by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. When you make a purchase at discountjuicers.com, that goes directly to support me so I can continue to make the videos on the juicers as well as all the other videos I make online promoting a healthy diet and teaching you guys how to grow food and eat healthy, including plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet. So I want to thank you guys that have supported me in the past, and thank you guys for those of you guys that will support me in the future. If you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please give me a thumbs up to let me know. I'll maybe be sure to do some more episodes with the Philips Micro comparing it to other juicers on the market real soon. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below. I'm coming out with new videos every 5 to 7 days, and I'll have new comparisons and new hints and tips and things about juicers and the appliances that allow you to maximize the amount of fruits and vegetables in your life, and that's what I like to do. Also be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 400 episodes now sharing with you guys and comparing different juices on the market, giving you guys my tips that I've learned over the years so that you guys could be expert juicers and select, more importantly, the right machine for you, because as much as one company will say our juicer is the best juicer, I will say there is a right juicer for you, but you need to find out what it is by literally watching my videos, because I go over it. Maybe you want a juicer that makes applesauce, then you're going to want to get this guy. Maybe you don't mind a 1-year warranty because you just buy another one after it blows up or stops working, in a year and a half. That's cool. That's what I show. I just kind of show it like it is, and that's why I appreciate you guys for supporting me and my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com once again. Once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors. Alright, this is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and what we're going to do today is get to compare two juicers against each other, head to head, in this juice off spectacular. So the juicers that we have today are the Omega NC800, which is